We're going to move on to the next and our final fifth speaker. I picked people who've got all sorts of different strategies. So Paul is going to come and share his particular strategy. Please put your hands together and welcome Paul Foster.
Well, who would have guessed I'd be up here? Okay. Very Ponzi slide to begin with. How Mastermind changed my life. Well, actually, it did change my life in lots of ways. A year ago, this time last year, I was sitting where the MMAs are right now. I was looking on the stage thinking, I'm never going to do that. These guys have just got everything. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be that good. And here we are a year later, unbelievably, I'm on the stage. So where did it all begin? Motivation. I'm going to use the words of Mr. Ferris Bueller, which is, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And that's where I was a year ago. I was considering where I was going with life, what I was doing, wasn't really happy with it, and I thought, well, I've got to do something. So I thought, well, to do what I need to do, I need more time, but also I need money. And I need to be free of everyday requirements that everyone will have. So I decided I needed independent income, et cetera, et cetera. I was interested in property, but frankly, I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't even know how to start. So I tried a money tree in the garden. Didn't work, sadly. This does not work, by the way. Don't try it, because it just doesn't work. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to do something. So here we were. In the beginning, it wasn't good. Property experience, 0. Property owned, 0. Cash available, 0, really. What to do, in a word, I was clueless. But clueless is no excuse. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to do something about this. So I'd heard of this strange blonde guy called Zutshi, who had some crazy ideas. I thought he was a bit of a shyster myself, to be honest, at the other time. But I thought, well, we'll see what he's like. So, Mastermind to the rescue. I thought, Simon will sort me out. He'll get my head in the right place. The first day. So I turned up on the first day, and in my mind, I thought, I can't invest in property. I have no money. How can I possibly invest in property? So I said this to Simon, and the big Z says, but of course you can. For those of you who can see the slide, the big Z is the very tall guy, and I'm the little boy, because I felt like I was about 10 years old that day. For those of you on the internet, you just have to take my word for it. So, show me the money. Where was I going to get this money from? That was the main thing that was on my mind. And Simon said to me, there's lots of ways to do it, Paul. You can do it. You can find the money. So I solved the problem by remortgaging my house to get the money for my first deal. When I did this, all of my friends said, you're mad, you're insane. The risk, it's enormous. What if, what if? Strange enough, a few months later, the very same people were giving me their money for a nice high return. Strange how things change, isn't it, in time? Risk is relative. The strategy. This is where the problem came. I didn't know what to do. So much to choose from. They do HMOs, lease options, rent-to-rents, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it seemed to me that everybody was doing HMOs. But that, for me, didn't really work for various reasons. My considerations were, I had a limited pot of money that I saw, which I needed to use over and over again. So I wanted some way of doing that. In addition, I didn't have a lot of time. I run a full-time business. I'm very, very busy. I didn't have the time, I thought, to run an HMO, all the hassle, all the grief, etc. Plus, in addition, everyone was doing HMOs, and I thought, no, let's be different. Let's do something else. So I did. And the winner is, I decided to go for Freehold, the leasehold flat strategy. And that's what I concentrated on for the entire year. The attraction for me was the ability to title split and get all your money back out so I could recycle the cash. But hopefully, if I got it right, I wouldn't have to actually do anything to the properties. That was my dream. I thought, can I really achieve this? Buy properties, do nothing with them, 6 months later, make lots of money. That was my plan. Did it go ahead? Well, we shall see. Again, time, didn't have any. Cash flow was pretty good. Not as good as an HMO, but the return on investment is infinite, which we will see. Did it work? Well, there you go. Where am I today, less than a year later? Portfolio value, only £1 million. Only. How can I say only £1 million? But compared to some, not a very high portfolio. But the equity is very high, 343K. I've actually bought 15 flats and an HMO. None of them on lease options. They've all been purchased. The rental profit is 56K from the rent alone, but I've also made extra cash profit of 62K plus. How did I do this? Also, I have no money left in any property, and effectively all of my property was free. How did I achieve it? Well, here's an example. I hope you can read it on the screen. It might be a little bit small, so I'll talk through it. This is a property that I discovered when I was in a traffic jam. And I was sitting in a traffic jam, it was raining, and I looked across to my right and I saw this huge big mansion with 11 bins outside. And I thought, why would a house have 11 bins? There was a for sale board, and I thought it might be an HMO or might be flats or something. Contacted the estate agent, and it wasn't actually on the market. Turned out that it was a probate property, and the owner had died and left a portfolio of 17 properties to his widow, who was 84 years old. So all of these properties have been set to go to auction. Now, I thought there might be an opportunity to buy this before auction, because what is an 87-year-old widow going to do with 17 properties? No children, nothing to leave it to. So I approached the estate agent. Contacted the vendor. And as Simon often says, it's not the price necessarily that makes a deal. It's speed and certainty. So I knew from the funds that I had available, I could really only afford 210K for this property. The auction estimate was 260 to 270. Unbelievably, I went in and I made a cash offer of 210 and said I could complete in 28 days. And she said, yeah, sure, why not? I then walked away and thought, where the hell am I going to get the money, and how on earth am I going to complete in 28 days? I didn't even have a mortgage at that point. I had nothing. So then it was panic, panic, panic. How am I going to make it work? So I then thought, not a problem. I'll just get that money out of my house, the equity. So I applied for the further lending, and my lender turned me down, saying I couldn't afford it. This I couldn't understand. It turned out the lender was only taking into account the property value of the mortgage, but refused to take into account the actual income. Therefore, the property was a loss, not a profit. So they turned me down 3 times. And I argued 3 times. And eventually, they accepted it because I threatened to spend the money on a Ferrari instead, which was part of their lending criteria, according to their website. So they relented, and I got my money. Then I thought, okay, I'll just get a buy-to-let mortgage. No, sadly not. As a block of flats on a single freehold, I was told by everybody, you can't do it, it's impossible. All the brokers said, nope, can't do it. All the financial advisors said, nope, you can't do it. The internet said, no, you can't do it. 27 lenders later and 11 brokers, I finally found a lender who would lend me. So I got a standard buy-to-let mortgage of 75% on the property, which in theory is impossible, but I did it anyway. So bought this property for 210K. It has a rental income of £2,000 a month. With a 75% buy-to-let mortgage, it gives a cash flow of nearly £1,300 a month. And that's pure profit because there are no bills. Self-contained apartments, which means no council tax, no utility bills, nothing whatsoever. The tenants pay all that. So I thought, well, that's not bad. That's a pretty good cash flow. Nothing compared to an HMO of that value, but pretty good. But here's the kicker. When I actually purchased it, it actually cost me effectively 56 and a bit K, deposit, stamp duty, mortgage fees, etc. I title split the property after 6 months. Purely a legal exercise. I did nothing to the property at all. In fact, I didn't spend 1 penny on the property from the day I bought it till today. Nothing. In fact, I've only been to the property 4 times since I bought it. I did a title split, purely legal exercise, and it valued up at 345K for the 4 flats. This meant that after all my legals and all my costs and remortgaged again at 75%, 97 grand came back out of the property. This means not only did I get back everything I put in, including all the legals, all the stamp duty, but I made a 40 grand clear profit on that property in 6 months. I didn't spend a penny on it, and I went there 4 times. Add into that the rental profit over 6 months, and the total profit for that property was 48K, pure profit in 6 months. In addition, I still own it. I own all of the leasehold flats. They all have 25% equity still in them, and I own the freehold with a value of about 15,000 on top of that. So the return on investment is truly infinite. Effectively, it cost me nothing, and it will be paying until the day I retire, which hopefully will be next year. So having done all this, I thought, what a strategy. That's fantastic. Surely I can't do that again. Well, I found another one. So similar thing again. This one used to be 2 shops with flats above. Had already been converted by the previous owner. Fully refurbed, excellent condition, ready to go, fully tenanted, just like the previous one. It was on the market for 260, which was very overpriced. So again, I contacted the seller directly. I realized it had been on the market for nearly a year, looking back through Rightmove, and there'd been no movement. So I contacted the seller, and I worked out what I thought it was worth. So I went in there, and I made him an offer of 190,000, and he told me, quote, go forth and multiply. That's a clean version. No swearing allowed. Anyway, 2 months later, we agreed at 195. Not 5,000 more than I originally offered. So purchased the property for 195K. Rental income was 1,700. Makes a cash flow of 1,047. Again, no bills. It's all profit. And I haven't spent 1 penny on the property since I bought it. After 6 months, I title split it again, and it valued up at 300,000 for the 4 flats. Remortgaged 75% after all of my costs. Everything came back out, and I made a clear profit of 21.8K. That plus the rental profit as well means over 28,000 clear profit in 6 months from a property that I haven't spent 1 penny on, and I've been there 5 times. I still own the property, I still own the freehold, and I've still got future options. That, as they say, is a secret to my success. That's what I did. And I then carried on doing that over and over again to get to where we are today. Let's go back for a slide. I did also do 1 7-bed HMO just because everyone else was doing it. I thought, well, why the hell not? Just to mix it up a bit, you know, as you do. So where does that leave us? Well, for me, the strategy worked very well, for me personally. I didn't obviously generate as much portfolio or cash flow as some people. However, I started with nothing, not a penny of my money. I now own all of this property. I have no money in it, and all of the money that I originally borrowed, I've got back as well, and a nice big profit. So for me, it worked very well, and I've spent no more than probably 7 days in any of my properties in the entire year. So I'm very happy with that, because time for me is as valuable as money. So what would I say if those were trying to seek to follow me? Well, first thing I'd say is you don't need money to invest in property. You really don't. I started with nothing. You can always get money. There's no such thing as a lack of money, just a lack of creativity. And I'm a very big believer in this. There's always a way. You can leverage your assets. You can use third-party investors. You can JV. Lots and lots of ways of doing it. Second thing, for me, education is everything. You don't know what you don't know. When I started, I knew nothing. In fact, I knew less than nothing. Mastermind taught me everything I need to know about property, and it taught me lots about myself. So education all the way. And for you accelerators at the back there, go on Mastermind, learn, take it on board. Lastly, or thirdly even, when you're looking for finance for a project, if you get turned down, millions of lenders out there, I should know, I've been to all of them. If someone says, you just can't do it, well, sorry, but you can. Keep trying, keep ringing lenders, keep ringing those agents. Just ring, push, push, push. And eventually, someone will give in and say, oh, go on, then I'll give you the money, as you do. And Mastermind, fantastic, loved it. There's a lot in Mastermind, lots of strategies. For me, I picked the one strategy that worked, and it worked for me. I concentrated on that strategy. My advice would be anyone who's following, pick whatever works for you and stick to it. And finally, some thank yous. First one, they're Big Z, Mr. Zutshi. Where does he get his energy? I don't know what kind of drugs he's on, but I'd love some, really. he's like the Energizer Bunny. I'm not saying you look like a bunny rabbit, Simon, but he's like the Energizer Bunny. My fellow MM11s who were just fantastic, and every time I came up with stupid ideas on the microphone, they all clapped and said it was great anyway, even though it was complete rubbish. Poor old Hugh from Gloucester, I seemed to steal all the properties from him, so sorry about that, Hugh. They're out there, honestly. The PIN team, without whom none of this would happen, especially Steph and Sarah at the back, who used to always give me the notes when I was late turning up, which was most times, frankly. My Sarah for putting up with my constant obsession with property and trolling the depths of Rightmove every single day. That's what she does for me. She trolls it. Spud the cat for helping me do this presentation at 6 o'clock this morning and deleting it twice by walking on the keyboard. And lastly, a sad note, but a great note at the same time, the inspiration really why I started all this. And I'm leaving this to the end because I'm probably going to crack up now. Just before I started Mastermind, a good friend of mine died. Very young, and she took her own life, decided she couldn't take it anymore and just kicked out, basically. Half an hour after I spoke to her, she was gone. That was the kicker that got me going in Mastermind. Made me think, life is just too damn short. Make the most of it. Grab it while you can. My name's Paul Foster. Thank you.
Let's thank Paul.